that's become world-renowned for its one-of-a-kind classes, ranging in topic from birch bark basket weaving to boat building.
You can learn all sorts of things over there. Northern News Now, Sophia Lauber takes us inside the North House Folk School to explore the crafts and the community it's keeping alive.
Settled here on the harbor in Grand Marais, the North House Folk School draws thousands of visitors each year, eager to learn new skills and take part in the area's rich culture of art and making.
It's nice to see how well known the school has become. I can travel to Europe and people know about North House Folk School.
It's become a destination for craft experts like instructor Fred Livesay, who's watched the school grow since 1977. And for first-timers.
Oftentimes, the classes that we're teaching, you just can't really find anywhere else.
One of the few places keeping traditional craft and what Livesay calls its life-changing powers alive.
There's a life in these hands that you don't get when you spend all day doing this on a keyboard. So making something like knitting or carving or blacksmithing is really a pretty critical thing, and we've forgotten about that.
Part of the next generation of artists carrying on tradition, Riley Cleve says that beyond physical skills, North House is crafting community.
Really, the main focus isn't necessarily who can make the best item. It's how can we use our knowledge and our working with our hands together to find connection across difference.
It's the principle the school was founded on and forged by these past nearly 50 years.
North House has really added to that vibrant tapestry that is the artistic community in Grand Marais.
North House offers classes all year round, bringing visitors and dollars to the area, both in the height of tourist season and the quieter months. In Grand Marais, Sophia Lauber, Northern News Now.
Wow, such cool things that they do there and craft there. And if you're interested, we have a link with more information to North House's course catalog on our website.
Always cool.